Yeah, back in the 90s, I was just a college student in love. I met Jake. He was 23, charming, already done with undergrad, and prepping for grad school across the country. I had plans to move nearby with friends, just 90 minutes from his new city. Fate, I thought. It all felt aligned. His siblings were amazing. His house? A zoo, literally. Jake was in an animal sciences PhD program, raising and breeding small animals in his rental. Money was tight, but we made it work. Tacos, cheap wine, late-night laughs, and weekends in his bed. I wasn't just dating Jake, I was building a life with him. I even got close with his advisor's wife, Mary, a woman who felt like the wise aunt I never had. But then, the rot started to show. One night, after being intimate, lying together half naked, he looked at me and said something that instantly sucked the air out of the room. I've been thinking, you've gained some weight, and it's harder for me to be attracted to you. No talk of health. No concern for me. Just his discomfort that I was no longer fantasy thin. I sat up. Calm, firm. Well, maybe you should stop feeding me cheese and crackers when I visit, then. Even then, at 23, I had a spine. I still wore the same clothes, size 6 or 8, but his cowardice was louder than his words. He just stared. Blank. I guess you should lose weight. I matched his gaze. Nah. I'm not going to do that. So what are you going to do about it? He had no answer. I got dressed. Slept. Drove home the next morning. No fight. His problem, not mine. 3 months later, he called. We should break up, he said. You don't know enough about science. I can't have deep conversations with you unless I use common animal names. Excuse me, I demanded the real reason. He finally admitted he'd been sleeping with a 19-year-old undergrad student. One of his students. He was 26. Her teacher. And I'd even lent her clothes once. She had spilled barbecue sauce on herself at a party. Jake didn't even have the guts to be honest from the start. Instead, he tried to manipulate me into breaking up with him by insulting my body. And guess what? Meg, the student? She wore a size 1/8. No shame in that, but the irony? Chef's kiss. I realized then, those cruel words about my weight were strategic. Jake didn't want to look like the bad guy, so he tried to make me end things. Classic. Coward. That night, rage turned into stunned laughter. And then something colder, sharper, more precise. I wasn't going to let this go. Not like this. I emailed his roommates, polite, respectful. Thanked them for their kindness and let them know we broke up. To my surprise, they replied with something huge they knew about Meg. In fact, they threatened to tell me themselves if Jake didn't come clean. Heroes. Then George, one of the roommates, kind, smart, and a total gentleman, invited me to come up, grab my stuff, and maybe have a little fun. I agreed. That weekend, I took everything, photos of Jake's illegal breeding setup, an endangered species he refused to register, even a banned animal kept visibly by the window. Then George and I hit the town. Drinks, dancing, laughter. When we stumbled home around midnight, Jake and Meg were on the couch. I was in a tiny black dress, heels, hair a mess, laughing, clinging to George. I spent the night in George's room. Loudly. On purpose. Jake called me a whore. Next morning. I smiled, took a bite of a donut, and said, have fun with my leftovers. But that wasn't the revenge. That was just the trailer. Next day, I developed the photos, then I called the State Fish and Wildlife Office. I gave them everything: unlicensed breeding, endangered species, banned animals. The works. George and the other roommate also filed complaints, to the university about Jake sleeping with his student. It spread like wildfire. The grad program was small, and Jake was not well liked. Everyone knew. I called Mary, Jake's advisor's wife, and told her everything. With proof. Emails. Admissions. She was furious. She promised it would be investigated. Her husband, Jake's advisor, saw to it personally. Then, boom, state agents showed up and seized the animals. Jake wasn't home. Meg panicked. Tried to find him. No cell phones. Remember, George welcomed the officials in. Everything was in communal areas. Nothing hidden. They got a warrant. Took everything. Except the guppies. Jake lost his animals, worth thousands, but that wasn't all. He also lost his federal EPA research grant, $30,000. Gone. He had to repay no more government funding. Ever. The university revoked his scholarship. He was fired. As a TA. Left with only a master's, no PhD. All for what? A fling with a teenager and a weak spine. Years passed. I stayed close with his siblings. Mary became family. I even went into science communications, helping researchers explain their work to people too dumb to understand, like me. I guess then, 20 years later, I was giving a guest lecture at a major university when I heard someone behind me say, "Hey, long time no see." It was Jake. I blinked. Smiled. Sorry, have we met? His face fell. It's me, Jake. I gasped. Oh. I must have blocked you out. Later, the department told me Jake was interviewing for a teaching job. I scoffed. He got fired from his last program. For sleeping with a student. They froze. Wait, what? I told them what happened. They looked concerned. A week later, Mary called. Jake's file had been pulled for background. All the complaints, the firing, even the arrest record were in there. He lost the job. But justice doesn't always wear a cape. Sometimes, it wears a short dress, walks through the door on the arm of your old roommate, and eats a donut in your kitchen. Jake never knew I reported him. Inévalite. I never had to. I just gave the truth a microphone.